software I'm using, and it kind of cut out 2 minutes into it. It will not this time, I promise you. I've even got a backup over here. So all the people that are reaching out to me, they want this content. I hope you're watching it live. If not, get the rebroadcast. If you are watching and you get the rebroadcast, share it with your friends. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. If you want to learn how to build your brand, this is the show. This is what you want to watch. Am I biased a little bit? I've known Keri-Rae for about 20 years. She's incredible. Her personality will just resonate. It'll come right through the screen, but the content is unbelievable. Keri-Rae, welcome. I'm so glad you are here.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be back. I always like to be heard. So, I had to come back so everyone could hear my loud mouth.
Oh my goodness. Keri-Rae, tell us a little bit about your background and just just how you got to the place where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've been working on and off in marketing ever since I started working. My parents had their own businesses, they're business owners. And so, when you own a business, you're constantly doing the marketing. So, I learned a lot from my parents, and I worked with them from a very young age, brainstorming and coming up with ideas to really reach out to our audiences. And then as I got older, that just kept growing and growing. I used it in the housing market. I worked in base housing, and I've also worked out in apartments and rentals. And so I've just continued to grow that. And then a couple years ago, I happened upon New Shelves Books and Amy Collins. And so I fell into my great love, which is books. And
Nice.
Amy Collins and New Shelves is all about book marketing. And so we hooked up, and it was like love at first sight. And so we got to working together. And through that, I've really been able to pair to something I'm good at, which is marketing, with something I'm really passionate about, which is actually working with books and author branding and building platforms. So while my focus for work is very book heavy, overall it can go into any business, just branding and marketing, and so many of the tools that we use can be used for any platform.
Unbelievable. I tell you, well, as a business owner, as myself, been an entrepreneur for a couple of years, we're all about getting our name out, all about expanding our business and just getting known in the marketplace, because that's so crucial, right? If we're not known, how is anybody going to buy from us? We always talk about,
Yeah.
if people trust you, that's one thing, but man, they got to know you first. So tell us, Keri-Rae, I am chomping at the bit to hear from you. I want to know how to build my brand. I want how to increase my reach. Tell me.
Well, I mean, the first part about building your brand is you really have to know what your core values are. Your message has to be clear in your own head before you can broadcast it to anybody. So, if you are in business, you really need to know what you're good at, what you want to do, and what you're willing to do. And that needs to come off in every single message. You need to clearly be telling people what you are. People shouldn't be looking around on your page being on, I know Matt does something, but what the heck does he do? Like, I don't know. He does these Facebook lives, but what does he do? I mean, we should know you're all about the senior referral business. You're about home-based businesses and marketing. And that should be really, really clear. People shouldn't have to look and weed through things for that.
Oh man, well, that is a mouthful. And I tell you what, I hope people know what I do, but at times I don't think they do. I think it's so intimidating at times, especially at the beginning. And the first part of my business was like, where do I begin? Where do I start? There's so many platforms. Keri-Rae, help me out. Where do I start? Where does an entrepreneur that's just getting going? It's so overwhelming. How do they even start?
Right. So, I mean, obviously, we've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, Pinterest, websites, we've got TikTok now, Snapchat,
Oh,
all the
I don't know how
things.
to dance though.
That's right. You just find some other fool to do it. But really, what it is you need to know your audience. So, based on whatever your business is, you need to know your audience. For you, with senior referrals, we've talked about this before, where you have two audiences, and one, actually, I would say you have three. One of them is, people who are getting a little bit older in their years, 70 to 80-year-olds who are looking for a nice home to move into with some additional care. The other one would be the children or grandchildren of those people who are probably
Mhm.
in their 40 to 50s.
Right.
And the third one is actually those senior homes, the doctors, the nursing homes, the carers. So you've got three markets, and based on their ages, based on where they usually look for information, we need to know where they hang out in the digital world. For your group, that's largely Facebook. They're not hanging out on TikTok doing dance
Come
moves.
on.
And if they are, send me that video because I want to watch
Right.
it. But most of them, they're on Facebook. They're probably a little bit older. Twitter probably moves a little too fast.
So it's
Instagram,
important to know where your audience hangs out, right?
yeah,
I think you and I have talked about off camera about it. It's kind of whether it be the dating world or whatever you want to example analogy you want to use, but it's just knowing who you're with, right?
exactly. Well, and then you have to go where they're at. If I, using the dating example, if I'm a 30-year-old woman, I want to hang out with 30-year-olds and meet somebody, I am
You
not
hang
going
out
to the high school. I mean, hopefully, I'm not going to the high school, right? Lordy. But you got to know where your crowd is, and you got to go there to hang out with them. And whether that be Facebook or Twitter or straight up webinars, I mean, you need to know where they're at, and you have to meet them there.
Okay, so now I know my audience. I know where they hang out. How can I simplify my digital marketing strategies? I mean, just plain and simple. Again, going back to this overwhelming feeling that I got to be on every platform. But my
All the
audience is
time.
hanging out at Facebook. Let's just say that as an example. If that's an entrepreneur out there and that's primarily where their audience is at, how can they simplify their digital marketing strategy?
Yep. There are so many tools out there that entrepreneurs and businesses should be taking advantage of. If you are constantly waking up in the morning going, "Oh, I got to post to Facebook 5 times. I got to find content. I got to do this, but I have that meeting. I've got this call." It suddenly is very overwhelming. But Facebook, on a Facebook public page, it has a scheduling feature, or there are programs like Hootsuite, which is a social media scheduler. So what I find to be the most helpful is to sit down and either plan out a week or a month of content. And this is something that generally will still apply whether it's
Mhm.
posted today or next week. Something that's of interest to your crowd, something that they would find value in, not necessarily just pushing your brand or not just pushing your product, but something that brings value to their lives. And you schedule it out. And what I like to do personally is to schedule things out so that they do post throughout. I do it on a week. So I'll do it on a Sunday and I post throughout the week, because content's constantly changing in my field. But if you schedule out for the week, I do one post a day, which leaves plenty of room that if I have breaking news, something really
Breaking
exciting.
news. Love it.
Yeah, breaking news. So exciting. Or maybe, my breaking news is often like a cute puppy picture, let's be
There
honest.
you go.
And so there's room and there's
Hey, I
place
like the
to
one you
do
did
that.
the other day on Instagram with your kids across the glass or the window or something. What was
Yeah.
that one? But that was so cool how you did
It's
that.
well, this was me and I'm going like this to my phone. I'm going, and my kids are over there and going, and I did that for a good 15 minutes, Matt, and I won't lie, I was not on a phone call. I was getting my alone time, and it's the time of COVID and coronavirus. We're in New York.
Right, right.
Kids are at home. Yep.
Well, it's kind of like my candle video I did, blowing out those battery candles. You threw me under the carpet, under the bustle that way.
I love that I was
But
half
you were right on
joking.
point.
Yeah, I mean, there's fun things, there's interactive things. I mean, people think of too, I think a very important part of business social media is people think of it as, well, it's a way to promote myself. Totally true, but you can't do that all the time. People get sick of it, they're bored. We follow the 80-20 rule, where about 80% of your content should just be interesting, it should be fun, it should be engaging, it should add value to the person or the people following you. Only 20% should be about you and your company. Only 20% should have an ask or a sale. Um, because otherwise, you just hammer and hammer and hammer, and
Hmm.
people, it's not fun. It's like me coming up to you and going, "Hey, Matt, let me tell you all about me. It's just about me, 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 me. By the way, it's all about me, blah, 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 blah."
Hey,
Oh,
who's it
did you?
about?
Yeah, yeah, I don't think you got this. And then I'd be like, "Oh, Matt, how you doing?" Well, I don't really care because it's all about me. And so it's really important that you interact, that you treat it like a relationship. You wouldn't go up to a cocktail party and do that to someone in real life. So don't do it
Exactly.
online.
Well, Keri-Rae, expound on that a little bit because I love that because you're talking about engaging with our audience now. We know where they hang out. Now it's time to engage. It's time to maybe test some ads or what's the best strategy to do that? I know where they hang out now. It's Facebook or
Yep.
whatever platform it is for their particular business. And now it's time to get to know them. How do I engage if I'm not on social media that often, or should I be? And if I am, what should I just comment or just like? What should I do?
Yeah. Well, a little bit of everything. I think that it's important. Again, another reason why I like scheduling out my posts for the week is it allows me that when I allot myself, let's say 10 minutes a day, if I've already got posts up that are kind of asking questions or they're pictures or things that people might comment on, I can take my 10 minutes a day to comment back, to reply, to engage
Mm,
because it's a two-way street. If people are commenting on your picture, on your page, if they are saying, this is amazing, I want to know more, and you don't respond, why'd you post in the first place?
right.
It's so important that you're not just dumping content and then not building those relationships. Most people, they don't actually go to buy something when they are interacting. It takes several touches. I mean, like
Yeah.
13.
Wow.
13 interactions before someone clicks the buy button or the find more goes to your website. So you have to actually cultivate those relationships, and that is what cultivates trust. That is what makes them feel like they know you. Because Matt, if I'm calling you because my dad, if you're watching this, I'm not trying to put you in a home yet,
Dad's like,
but
wait a minute.
but if my dad needs a home, I mean, that's really personal. I want
Yeah.
someone who I trust, who I feel like cares. And I'm really not going to feel like you care about me if you don't even respond to me on Facebook. Like, if you can't
Wow.
click the
Wow.
little thumbs up
Right.
or a heart on Facebook,
Right. Right.
and I'm not going to give you like my dad's future.
Yeah.
um so I think that it's important that we cultivate it and we treat it like we would in real life. If someone in real life is waving to you, you're going to wave back. Yeah, I mean, and if you don't,
Right. Right.
we'll talk about that later. But I think it's just important that you cultivate the friendship. You cultivate that so that when you do have an ask, when you do invite someone to buy something or to buy into something, there's trust there. And make sure that whatever you put on your page, whatever you are offering for sale or as a program, that you stand behind it. Because if you don't, let's remember, it's the era of social media, and you will be blasted.
Ooh.
There's nothing that goes viral quicker than a tweet about how someone did someone else wrong.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so make sure that you're not over promising, that you are proud of your product, and that you do have the stand behind, that you do follow through.
Well, Keri-Rae, speak a little bit about, and you touched on this a little bit about preparing on Sunday and kind of spreading out your posts. Is there a place in where someone can post too much as opposed to not enough? And what's the balance?
Yeah. Yep. So here's the thing, and I know we've talked about this before. You post and you get business. You post, you get responses. So you just want to like just post all the time. I mean,
Man, I'm just like, hey, 10 minutes went by. Let's post again. I guess somebody called me. This is awesome.
right, it might work. And sometimes that's true, but it's important to know your platform. So on Facebook, the average post lasts about 4 hours. If it's being responded to, liked a lot, it'll last longer. On Twitter, for example, you've got about 20 seconds. If it does not get liked, retweeted, it's gone. So on Twitter, obviously, because it doesn't last for very long, you could tweet 10 times in a day and it would be fine. On Facebook, where it lasts about 4 hours, if you're posting 10 times a day, it's like all in their feed. They're like, wow, Matt got motivated today.
I'm all in your face.
So I mean, it's important to know your platform, but it's also important to keep in mind that you want to keep in touch without being obnoxious. And the best way to do that, again, is I say post once a day, but many of these places have different tools that you can use that keep you in touch without pushing your stuff to the top of everyone's
Mhm.
feed in an obnoxious way. Facebook Lives are one of them, where they go in the algorithm a different way so they don't show up one after the other. Instagram Stories is another one. But I think overall, again, it's important that you stick to that 80-20 rule.
Sure.
And I say once or twice a day is plenty, especially for things like Instagram. One post, and then you want to do stories all day long, go for it. But one actual post is plenty, because that, depending on the algorithm, can stay around from a day to 3 days. You don't need to post 10 times a day. People are gonna, especially on Instagram where it's all pictures, like, how many selfies can you take?
Right, right, right.
Or in my Instagram, it's like food, selfies, and kids.
That's right.
um,
Well, Keri-Rae, speak to the entrepreneur out there, the person that's just getting started. They're limited on their resources. And not only that, they're looking for a strategy. And we've talked a lot about strategy and going for it. But they're too new in their business right now to know which platform works, like if it is Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever it is. How do they even decide where to start?
where to start? Google is our friend.
There we
I
go. I'm
think
85% smarter because of Google.
exactly.
I still
I
know
mean, I
better
might as
because
well
of
have a
Google.
PhD by now. But really, I think what it is you do need to know your audience. And if you don't know your audience, you need to get researching. And it's very surprising to most people that, in general, you are not your audience. Just because you're selling something, just because you're in a business with a product, does not mean that everyone buying it is just like you. So it's important that you find your audience, you find out who they are, and then you can, I mean, as I said,
Right,
Google, where are 50-year-olds hanging out? Where are 19-year-olds hanging out? If you've got a clothing brand or something that's geared towards 19, 20-year-olds, where are they hanging out? Instagram, TikTok. That's
right.
where you need to be. But you have to know your audience first. And I think that is pivotal to marketing, because if you don't know your audience, whether you're spending your time or your money as you're marketing because you're trying to get business, if you don't have a target market, you are just throwing money. You're just throwing it and hoping it hits the right person. But
Okay,
when
now we're
you,
talking about money. I want to get there.
yeah,
Let's say I'm an entrepreneur and I got a little bit of money, a little bit of coin to throw down
yeah,
on some ads. How much do I start out with? And are the paid ads truly effective?
they can be effective. But here's the thing, you have to know your audience. And I've said it and I'll say it like 10 more times.
Hey, what'd you
If
say?
you have to know your audience, Matt. Because if you don't know your audience, again, you're throwing money left and right, hoping that your ad hits the right person. But if you know your target audience, you can target to that audience and your conversion will skyrocket. Now, when you're starting an ad, don't start with $500. Do not start with $100.
Yeah.
Start with $25. Start with $50. But it's really important to know that when you're first doing ads, you are in testing mode and you need to treat that money like it's never coming back. If you
Mm.
don't have $25 to
I want
test
to know
on and
that
never
money
get
to
it
grow
back,
babies. Come back.
I mean, you think you're like, I'd release it, it'll come back to me. Money, unfortunately, is one of those things. It doesn't show the love. But you have to have that mentality, because if you do make it back, amazing. But in the beginning, when you're testing things out, when you're trying things out, you have to be prepared to take the hit. And if you cannot afford to take the financial hit of, let's just say you lose $25, I mean, you get data, but not
Mhm.
sales, then you shouldn't be advertising right then. You have to work within your budget so that you don't burn through your resources, so that you do have something to keep working through. And I mean, really, $25, $50, that's plenty to start. That's plenty to start pulling ad data to see who's clicking, who's buying, because especially on Facebook, and I know we're kind of using that a lot,
Yeah,
but we're
sure.
on Facebook, so why
That's
not?
right.
um, Obviously, you like Facebook.
Right.
But what I like about Facebook is you can actually, not only can you target specific ages, specific groups, specific um, areas, you can target people who follow. I think I used this one last time. Andy Griffin.
Oh my goodness.
We're thinking that people who like love Andy Griffin and follow Andy Griffin are probably in need of your services or pretty close to it. Um, and so you can do that. But what I also like about it is when you run an ad, they give you that data. They tell you what percentage and how many clicks came from California, how many came from Virginia, were they male or female,
Mm,
were they in their 30s? Because Facebook collects all of this ad. I know when you signed up and you put your
right.
birthday in there, you thought they weren't doing anything with it.
Whoa.
But I mean, they collect all this ad data and they give it back to whoever runs those ads, which is good for the marketer because then you can see who it is that you're actually pulling into your ads. I may say, I have a product for 19 to 25-year-old people, and I think that's really where my target market is. My ad's getting clicks from 45-year-olds. Guess what I'm doing wrong? I'm marketing wrong.
Wrong, right.
So I mean, it's important data to know so that you can adjust and you can change, but it is something that you're investing in at first. The goal is to turn that and convert it into sales, to convert it into
What is
a
it? What now?
profit.
Sales. Sales.
Sales. I mean, of course, that's what you want. That's why you run ads. You don't run ads to be popular.
No.
I mean, Matt might, but I don't. Um, so I think it's important that you have a reason for it, but know that it might take a while to get there. And also know that sometimes when you're investing in things, you may be investing in just growing your platform, not selling anything. You may just want people to come and like your page so that when you have that big art sale next week, you've got a bigger audience. But know what you're going after, know your target audience so that you can actually hit it. Otherwise, I mean, you're kind of just get rid of that money. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
no point.
Hey, Keri-Rae, speak to. I've got some students of mine. I teach students across the country do what I do, and I got a few of those asking me this question, and some others that I've engaged in conversation with, and they always want to know the importance of a website, the importance of a landing page, the
Mhm.
importance of maybe doing a webinar, that kind of thing. Speak to that a little bit, and then is there any validity? Because it's something I shifted in my own business, especially with one area of my business is I'm going after conversation conversion versus doing more webinar because it seemed like my closing ratio was higher when I did the conversion deal, the conversation conversion, rather than just doing a webinar. I noticed both are important, but can you speak to that real quick?
Yep. So as far as a website or a landing page, something like that, Matt, do you have a house?
Yes.
It's pretty important, right?
Yeah, I'm sitting in it.
Yeah. Well, your business needs a house, and that house is a website.
Yeah.
If there's nowhere for people to go to consistently get information to contact you, number one, you look untrustworthy. Number two, it's hard for them to reach you. We
Yeah.
need to make it as easy as possible for clients and customers to contact us. They should not have to really work for our phone
Mm,
number. So having a website, it does not have to be super fancy, it doesn't have to be crazy, but having some type of website is your online home. And it's important that it's there and that it's updated, that you have the correct phone number, the correct email addresses. I would not bypass that. Same thing if you're on Facebook, you should have a public page, not a profile. A profile is someone that you like and you become best buds, your friends, but a page is something that is open to the public. It's basically a website on Facebook, your website on Facebook.
hmm.
Get your profile filled out, get your bio filled out, get your contact information in there because this is how people will find you.
Yeah, no, I agree. And guys, if it comes down to a dollar sign, whether you get your website or not, what I did when I first started our business, I started off with a $9.99
Yeah.
Wix website. I'm not trying to promote Wix by no means. I know there's others out there. I'm not saying that's better than any, but it worked for us. It wasn't great. It was cumbersome to move pictures around. Something I used to get ticked off all the time, Keri-Rae, because my wife would laugh at me because I'm trying to move a picture from one side to the other, and something that could take 10 seconds took 10 minutes,
Yep.
because it would just move and shake. And so you're going to be frustrated with some of those platforms, but it really helps. And to Keri-Rae's point, there was my clients appreciated that because they could go somewhere, right, and see who I
Mhm.
am, get my bio, the product, the services, all the rest. They could see all that. And it somehow it
Exactly.
brings them some comfort and peace that, oh, okay, this guy is who he says he is because he has a website. It kind
Right.
of validates you, right?
Exactly. It's a trust thing, and it is important. Now, as far as your second question, which was webinars and conversion, that depends on you and that
Yeah.
depends on your business. Now, Matt, you're a very conversational guy.
I
I can
am.
see where what I'm trying to say is you talk a lot. I
That's
totally
what
get.
what are you really trying to say?
Oh, it takes one to know one.
That's right.
But I mean, really, you're a conversational guy, so you shine there. So I'm not surprised that's where your conversion is. If you are someone who doesn't do well on the phone, if you are someone who does not like to be on the spot, I mean, you can be someone who'd be like, I can't do that. Go with the webinar. I think it
Mm,
depends on you. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and plan for them. Because a weakness is not such a big chink in your armor when you acknowledge it and you plan for it. When you try to pretend like it's not there, that is when it will trip you up,
ooh.
especially in marketing, especially face to face and with people. You have to know your weakness and plan for it.
Well, Keri-Rae, how can I get more followers to know who I am? And we talked a little bit about that, but just like and I know it's different for everything. And full
Yep.
disclosure, I've got a YouTube account and I got very little subscribers. I get a lot of my business from YouTube because people search it out. I guess it's the tags, or I don't know
Yep.
how they're finding me, be honest with me, because I got so little subscribers. It's not even funny. And then I got another platform where I got thousands, but I get more from the lower end of YouTube than I do the other where I give it LinkedIn. I got over 10,000 people on there.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, I got less than 100, but I get 95% of my business with the Referral Academy from the one that's less than 100. How's
Yep.
that possible?
Well, and I mean, there's a couple things to look at. Number one is that numbers, I would any day of the week rather work with someone who's got 500 followers or likes that interacts constantly than someone with 25,000 who
Mm,
gets no interaction, because interaction is how all of these platforms gauge interest. It affects the algorithms, it affects who sees what, and many of these big pages that have 25, 30,000 followers and likes, if they're not getting the interaction, no one sees their posts.
yeah.
I mean, I recently had someone literally, they have 25,000 followers on Facebook,
Wow.
posted something. It was a great post, but
Yeah.
they don't interact on their page. Got one like, and it was
What?
mine. And it was mine.
Whoa.
Now, at the same exact day, I had someone who has less than 1,000 likes on Facebook on a page, but they're asking questions, they're inviting opinions, they're posting cute things along with their sales stuff. They had over 300 comments on one picture
Wow.
because it was something that she invited conversation. And what happens is Facebook said, "Oh, they like her post. That's interesting to people." So they start stacking the algorithm. So everyone was seeing it. Friends of friends were seeing it. People who commented, their friends were seeing it. And so I think it's important that rather than just the numbers, we look at the interaction. Interact on your social media. I don't care if you pick one social media platform
Mm,
where your people are going to hang out. Interact. Better to do that than to have every social media platform and kind of just make sure you have something posted. It's way more important that you get the interaction where your people are hanging out at. As far as building your numbers, because you're not wrong, that's still important.
right.
I think it's important that you build those either organically because people actually are interested, but also it's okay if you're on Twitter. It's okay to search out hashtags of if you are, if for authors, we do it all the time. Hashtag writing life, writing community. Go find people using that hashtag and follow them, like them. But you can't just do it for numbers. You actually have to interact with them or else they will
Right.
know.
Well,
People can smell, they can smell sincerity a mile away, and they can smell when people are just in it for numbers too. I mean, people they don't want fake people in a world where we are constantly overrun with so many things that are staged and fake. People want real, they want messy, and they want interaction and friendship. And if you give them that, you will grow so much faster than you would otherwise.
man, you're hitting the nail on the head, Keri-Rae. And I tell you, there's certain platforms where I do really well at, and there's A couple I don't. I give you one I do not do well is Twitter. Maybe it's going back to that 7 or 8 second thing
Mhm.
that's up there, but I get destroyed on Twitter, meaning that I don't think anyone ever sees it. I look on there and it's like they got 2 views. Two people saw it. That's it. Two.
Well,
The chance of getting
and
to sell when only two people see it.
well, and Twitter isn't your spot. You've got a lot of words, and a lot of words needs Facebook. But also, I mean, what you are, what your brand is about, more, yes, senior referral, home business, but what your brand is about is trust. Your brand is about working together. It's about community. That's really hard to portray in, what is it, like 150 characters?
Right.
It needs a video and a lot of love and laughter, and
Right.
that's what brings people in. So it's okay to know your strengths. I'm not saying never tweet again, but I'm saying
Right.
if you've got an hour to work on your social media every week, spend 5 or 10 minutes on Twitter and the rest go to Facebook, go to
You know
YouTube.
it. You
Because
know it.
again, YouTube, and I have said this before, I'll say it again, YouTube and Pinterest are the longest lived social media. I have gone on social media on Facebook, let's say. I said it was about a 4 hour range. Twitter's 20 seconds. Instagram is up to a day, generally, depending on what you're looking at. Um, However, YouTube, someone searches a YouTube on a hashtag or on a tag or on a topic. I told you the other day I was fixing my dishwasher. It was a 4-year-old video, but
Nice.
they had the information I wanted, and you darn well better believe I watched that 4-year-old video and I didn't think anything of it. I didn't go, oh, well, that's old. But
Yeah.
would I go back, unless it's on Time Hop or something? I'm not
Right.
going
Right.
back to a 4-year-old Facebook video. It's old news. But YouTube has that staying power. If you can get some evergreen content, or content that it will at least last more than, a day, a week, then that will keep on selling for you long after you put it up. And it actually can get more popular with time, because that's when people like it, that's when they view it, and the little view counter goes up, and it makes you look like, people care and you're cooler. And Pinterest is the same way. When you search recipe pins, it doesn't say recipe pin from April 1st,
Right.
2009. It just says most amazing tacos ever. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. So those are
Going back to the
great.
YouTube thing, one thing I learned real quick, and it's just a tidbit, guys, of information. Again, I got so few subscribers, and I ain't funny, but this, I guess, it's part of what works too, is the thumbnail. I mean,
Mhm.
because YouTube will give you like 3 options, and all the options are like, really weird looking pictures. I mean, the other day I'm like, dude, if I pick one of those 3, my gosh, you'll think I'm psycho. Man, what in the world is that? So you do your
Yep.
own thumbnail, which doesn't take a whole lot of work. But I would encourage anyone, if you're on YouTube, do a thumbnail. It really helps.
Absolutely. Well, and speaking to that, I think it's important that the content you're putting up on your social media, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be well done. I don't care if it's a
Mm,
picture of your product, or if it is a post that, where you're sharing a thought or asking for feedback. Don't put up stuff that you did in the car in 2 seconds while your kid was screaming in the back. Or, don't put up with something that you wouldn't be proud of later. If you can't look at it and be like, hey, I made that and it was pretty good, don't put it up. And I'm not saying that you can't ever post the mess, because I mean, I think we've seen time and time again that when people share their mess, when they share their struggle, people connect with that. So I'm not saying never share your mess, but I am saying that it needs to be carefully curated. You need to think about how it looks to other people. You need to take a read through. If you're
yeah.
heated about something,
Right.
if you're heated about politics, walk away from Facebook. Just
Walk
go. Don't do
away.
it. And that's also important. Politics, unless your business has to do with politics, keep it off of your business page. And
Yeah.
unless there is a reason for it to be there, it doesn't belong, because you're not there to make political friends. You're there to make a business partner, a sale. And that needs, I mean, there's something to be said for that.
Mhm.
So keep these things in mind, that what you put out there is the type of people that you will collect. And if you put angry, bitter things out on Facebook, guess what kind of client you're going to get? And guess
Oh,
what kind of client you don't want to work with?
yeah.
Um, So, I mean, I think those are all important things to think about. And no matter what they say, yes, there's a delete button, but on social media, nothing ever dies.
Ah,
Remember that too.
it lives on, Keri-Rae.
It
Keri-Rae,
does.
I'm so excited to have you on today. And guys, you could tell she's got a wealth of information, knowledge about social media, digital marketing, and all the rest. It's just unbelievable. Keri-Rae, how can my audience get in touch with you? I got something rolling on the screen here. It'll come up here in a second. I think it's Keri at newshelves.com.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to give out your phone number. It's up to you, but how do you want people to reach out to you?
555 55. Kidding.
Oh, you're giving the movie deal. No.
No, really though, Carrie at newshelves.com. Also, I am on Twitter. It's hashtag, or not hashtag, it's little at sign
Yeah.
Keri, Keri, Barnum, Barnum. And also our website. Again, we are heavily featured towards books and authors, but newshelves.com is where my official home is. And I'd love to hear from people. I love meeting new people and being in business and seeing people grow. So I'd love to connect with anyone who's interested in chatting and being friends online.
Thank you so much, Keri-Rae. Hey, hang on for a second. I'm going to tell my audience goodbye, but thank you so much, you guys. I know you can't send her some love and put some comments at the bottom or something. Share this with. She is in conversation with Keri-Rae about social media, digital marketing. I'm telling you, hands down, the best. You just live too far. You're 2,500 miles away, but guess what? Her and I are going to be talking
Yeah.
tomorrow. I got to be using some of her talents in our business. Please, Keri-Rae, thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you.
You guys, I hope you really enjoyed that as much as I did. She's an amazing individual, and it's about the social media game. And I'm telling you, when I started my business for 3 months, I didn't think anybody saw what I put out. I didn't think anybody even acknowledged me because there's no comments, no likes, or very, very little. And it just was difficult. And I was like, man, why am I doing this? I feel like I'm wasting my time. I can tell you from experience, you are not wasting your time. Work on your craft, work on it. You get better. I'm not perfect by no means. I'm nowhere near where Keri-Rae's at, but I've gotten better. I can see over the last year and a half, 2 years, my skill set has improved a little bit. Not a great deal, but improved a little bit. You can too. And I would encourage you, if you're looking to get into a six-figure home business, man, pursue it. Do your research, do your homework, talk to people. But when you talk to people, talk to positive people, talk to people that are already successful working out of their house. Don't talk to people that have given up on their dreams. Don't talk to people that are negative. It's only going to bring you down. So God bless. I'll talk to you next time.